Hey, here we go. Music's on, and that means that it's time to start talking. Hey, everybody, we welcome you in. Yes. The summer series continues, and look who we found just kind of hanging out at the outside door.
Was he just outside
He
the
was
building?
just outside the door. I said, hey, I know you. Could you just come here for just a little bit? Our special.
Was he illegally parked?
No, he was. No, he had a ride here. He got a ride here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That was very nice.
Yeah.
That wasn't Uber. That was just a friend.
That's Randy Wilkins. Our
Oh, it was Randy. I
Yeah.
didn't know it was Randy. I didn't. Those heavily tinted windows.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, just leave it at that. We'll just kind of leave it at that. Jordan Lesley, WVU defensive coordinator, is our special guest, and we're delighted. We're going to talk some ball. 3 guys before the game, brought to us by Comax Business Systems. They happen to be keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. More on that coming up in a little bit. 3 guys brought to us by GoMart. Go for good times. Go for GoMart. They've got some unbelievable deals going through the rest of this month. I'm going to tell you about a couple coming up. And it's boating season. I think Leslie's a big boater.
I bet he is.
Yeah, big boater. 3 guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. I said you're probably a boater because we were talking just before we started to roll. And so you're a deep sea fishing guy. You like that?
Oh, love it.
Like,
Love it. Really started in 2010. My best friend from college kind of turned me on to it, but now that's different boating. I wouldn't call that boat.
No, I wouldn't
call it. I wouldn't call that boating.
You're on a boat. You're not necessarily boating.
Correct. You're on a boat. It's work. Obviously it's fun, but it's not like a nice little Saturday at Cheat Lake by no means.
No. So here's the deal with me and deep sea fishing. I've tried it multiple times, probably as many as 5 times, and I want to do it. I mean, I love that. I love to do it. I puke consistently. Can't do it. I
get
just
seasick
get
out there.
seasick.
Yeah.
Get seasick. I can't do it.
Now, I'll give you some advice. Do you get seasick while just fishing or on the ride out and then the back end? Does the motion of the
yes to both.
Okay,
Or to
one
all.
of the things that not a lot of people know is don't stand like the diesel fumes.
Yes, that's get you too.
Those are the get you more than the actual motion.
Yeah.
So you got diesel issues and water issues?
Let me tell you this. I'm in the water, and I went in. This wasn't a deep sea fishing trip. I was, what the hell you call that? Snorkeling, right? I'm snorkeling. I got seasick while I was snorkeling.
Wow.
Excuse me?
Yeah, based on how the waves were moving,
Oh, yeah.
I'm underneath the water, and I'm going like, they had to bring me back.
They have flippers that fit you?
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't need flippers.
Wait.
That's just
naturally.
went in his flip-flops.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you got to attack my foot size.
All due respect,
size
your shoes.
16,
Hey,
Jordan.
look, oh wow.
Yeah,
16,
see?
yeah. Yeah, but Jaquay was here. Jaquay Hubbard, world champion mountaineers.
He got some
18.
canoes. Yeah.
18?
Yeah, he had
I've
18.
not seen 16 there. When you go to the rental place and they got them all lined up there, they have to go in the back?
XL. It's also really hard when
XXL.
you go ice skating, like ice skating rentals.
What are you fishing? I mean, are you out like
He goes,
miles?
yeah,
away?
yeah. He said-
We're on average about at least 100 miles.
Really?
Yeah, and
Oh.
we're out for I don't know, a night or two nights.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it's tournament fishing. So you're fishing for big game, blue marlin, yellowfin tuna, and really you throw every type of tuna in there: bluefin, big eye, mahi, which is dolphin, dorado, whatever you want to call them, wahoo. And so you're fishing, most of the time by category, what you're fishing for.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Essentially, gambling, like they have like a golf tournament. They have the what's the word I'm looking for? Calcutta.
Yeah.
That you kind of, as a boat, as a team, you bet the category, and you're fishing against the people that are in that category, and so it's a big game, and to see. I'm trying to think.
Hey, Brad, can you put a line on that? Brad,
Well, I'm
can
sure that it sounds
you
like
put
there
a
is
line on
lines.
it? Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's to see the just the difference in those animals versus freshwater animals is just always amazed me, and then to have them on the end of and the power that they have, it's crazy, but it's so much fun. And then a guy that I fish with, we've had really the same group of guys since about 2010 that have always got together 2 or 3 times a year and
No kidding.
and done it. And it's
When are you going again?
actually, I usually do have 2. I have one Memorial Day.
Oh,
and then
coming
I
up.
have one during our vacation.
Okay.
Now this year I have a wedding. Thanks to somebody I'm related to back home.
Stupid wedding.
Appreciate that.
Interfere with
Yeah,
everything.
it's
Foul
killing my
things
summer.
up.
Yeah.
But no, we're carrying the kids there for that, which is Memorial Day. So I'm missing that one.
Boom.
And then the tournament during vacation, they actually moved up to Father's Day weekend, so I'm gonna miss that one.
Oh, dude.
man.
There is a possibility of one the last 3 days of our vacation. It's a different tournament we've never fished. So we're talking about it right now. So this may be a year I may not get
Are
to
there
do it as
meetings
much.
and strategy sessions here?
Oh,
with
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Big thing.
It's
You
a
whiteboard and stuff?
it's a two. Well, not anymore.
Not anymore.
I did growing up. If I wakeboarded now,
No, he
Oh,
said
whiteboard,
whiteboard.
like
oh,
the diagram and stuff
I thought
up,
you said
like
wakeboarding.
no.
I was like,
Like you
well,
come over like
not out there where we're fishing.
you're going like this. Okay, look at the marlin is coming in on strong side pressure here, and then we're gonna.
diagram
no,
it
no,
things
no,
up.
that's it's you know what, there is strategy. So what you're people, a lot of people don't realize, like the saltwater moves a lot. There are movements in the water like freshwater. There are currents, there are current lines. You're in the Gulf of Mexico, so everybody fishes off of where the Mississippi River dumps in.
See, this is wild.
And so
I'm going deep.
yeah,
here.
yeah.
is
And
wild.
so
Literally.
people, like, when you see that, like if you ever get to see that and how much water that river
puts into the ocean.
puts into the ocean and what that does and how the fish react to it, it's amazing. And you know, and that we're off Louisiana, that's essentially an underwater mountain range. So you'll be fishing they're salt domes, they're domes, and your depth will go from 4,000 feet and all of a sudden 1,900 feet, and you'll be fishing over and so that's what you look for. That's the topography of the land under the water, and then with the water, you're looking at temperature, you're looking at currents, current lines, you're looking at what they call altimetry, which are upwellings in the Gulf of Mexico. And so and I had to learn all of that, just like
Yeah, there's a whole nother world.
it's a whole other world of fishing. I'm like, what are you just looking for a tree, hanging off the bank.
Steve Dunlap, the longtime defensive coordinator here, also like a rabid fisher.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, do you think there's something? Is there a correlation between defensive coordinators and fishing? Is there some similarity why you guys are attracted to that?
Other than an excuse to drink a bunch of beer, no.
But Dunlap's a freshwater guy.
Yeah. See this.
Yeah.
See
You know-
what
you know
he's doing.
Dunlap,
Like
right?
Steve's
Yeah, yeah.
like Steve couldn't hold his sinker. I mean, what Steve's doing, he's doing that soft stuff. You're going out there like man's world.
How long till
Well,
Dunlap
but you
texts?
would be amazed at the similarity.
How long? What do you? We're gonna put it
Dunlap.
over under
I'm
on the
gonna
time
text him right
Dunlap
now.
texts. He'll yell at you for saying it, even though
will.
Caridi
Yeah.
said it.
Hey, Steve, I love you. Just took a shot. Anyway, go ahead.
You'd be amazed at the similarities, though.
In the
The
game.
freshwater.
And yeah, and when you start to learn about currents and how they work and eddies and where the fish tend to gather to feed, that's
Yeah.
what you're looking for.
Okay, 2 questions. What's the biggest fish pound-wise you ever caught?
It's a yellowfin tuna.
They get big.
138, I think.
138 pounds.
138 pounds.
Wow.
And how long did it take
yeah.
to bring in?
Probably right around 2 hours, I think.
Oh man.
Maybe an hour and a half. I don't know. I mean,
So that's a good workout.
oh yeah, like you're.
How many guys were on it?
So how that works is you have a guy that's on the rod, you have the angler, then you have the wireman, then you have the gaff man, and then who's more important than anybody is who's driving the boat.
Sure.
Because a lot of times, especially the bigger the fish, you're working the fish with the boat.
Yeah, pulling them.
So my buddy's dad, who's I just ate breakfast with him. I was down in Florida. I don't know what is today. I don't
Thursday.
Today, yeah. So it was last Thursday, a week ago, and he's great. And he did this actually professionally when he was in his 30s, and so he knows what he's doing. And it's amazing. He works these fish with a 60-foot boat, and he knows when to reverse it and come back, and so he's watching, and you're in the open ocean, so it's not like you got to face forward the whole time. So he essentially, we're fishing down below him, and he's driving the boat like this, like a bulldozer, with the diesel engines, and he'll see the line go this way, so he knows how to. All you're trying to do is get the fish tired enough to where when he gets to the boat, because those things when they'll play dead almost, and those tunas, they'll do what they call a death circle, and it's like pulling up a Volkswagen. And then they'll run out whatever line you just reeled up, and you're like, oh, damn. And then do it again, and they'll take off. But then when they get under that boat, they get close, because you got to think now, this is survival mode for them. They're in trying to fight for their life, and so
it's fourth quarter goal line stand for them.
Yeah. You immediately switch what your intake is. You go from beer to water real quick, because it's not like it's not like it's cool out there. It's hot, and so it's a lot of work.
So when they go, like, is there a harpoon involved in this? Like, do you get them at the end?
No, the harpoons are usually used for the bluefins, which are, anywhere from 700, 800, 900 to 1,000 pounds, and those are commercial guys most of the time.
Right.
Now, a couple weeks ago, there was an 888 bluefin caught where we usually fish. It's just what time of year it is. But those are usually for those guys. We use the gaff, the big hook.
That's something.
And then usually are able to pull the ones.
Largest bluefin tuna ever caught was 1,500 pounds.
Bluefin tuna?
Is this largest bluefin tuna ever caught? 1,496 pounds off the coast of Nova Scotia, 1979.
Yeah,
1,500 pounds.
See, I didn't know you were into it like that. That's good, and that's your unplugged time. Like when you're out there, you're not. That's a good time. That's
it's
good.
8 miles offshore, so your cell phone quits working at 8 miles offshore, and that's let's get there that time of year.
So when you have downtime, like when he has downtime, he watches hours upon hours of YouTube videos with Somali pirates. Big thing with him. For real.
Somali.
You ever watch those?
Where they
it's like that. Where they try to get it, like for real though. Like they're trying to get onto these cargo ships, and here they come. Well, now they're getting smart, so they're putting like security dudes on these planes, and the old boys start coming on that plane. They're going to come up the side, and I said, "Actually, you're not going to be doing that." And they just they blow them up. It's good stuff.
That's what you do in your off.
He makes it up.
Hours upon hours.
No,
he does that.
he just lies.
Do you watch YouTube videos of other people doing this fishing, or you have to be an active participant?
No. Well, you can watch the videos, but I mean,
do you?
Just like no.
No.
So you're asking him if he's watching tape.
You're
asking if he's watching tape.
So you're not. You're participating.
No, you just go. You learn as you go.
Okay, got it.
You learn as you go. But there's some. I mean, there are some that, to say that I've never watched those. Like you watch some of those where like you go off the coast of Cabo or Mexico, and you're like catching all these, like 50 marlin a day. That's how thick they are over there. But a lot of them are these small male marlins, and so there's these videos of them turning, and they're so powerful they'll essentially skip on top of the water, and they come into the back of the boat. Now, there's been guys get and so I've watched some of those, but to watch them know what you're doing, like
no,
it's
not like it's not
just
like,
go, just
Huh?
How big's the boat?
He actually just got a new one. It's a 60-foot Miller.
Okay, but you can sleep on it, stay
Oh
overnight?
yeah. Has bunk beds. Has essentially a master stateroom.
Wow.
Galley. Which is
beer cooler.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was
Just
checking.
Yeah.
True to this podcast, you never know where it's going to go, and we're open to sharing with other parts of the company. This just took care of West Virginia Outdoors this weekend for Chris Lawrence, if he wants.
Chris Lawrence, he's old. Yeah, Chris Lawrence
is a big chunk right there.
Yeah, Chris might. So Chris is our outdoor guy.
Okay.
I turned him on to Colton McKivitz when Colton wanted to go duck hunting, and they went duck hunting, like literally. I think when Colton was still here playing, and so those guys got a big friendship going. And when Colton's all done, I don't know if you know this, but he wants to open up a preserve for
Oh,
duck.
nice.
You do much shooting stuff?
Oh yeah, duck hunting was my
Ooh.
like growing up. That's I love that more.
Okay, growing up was what city?
Fulton, Mississippi.
Yeah, I was listening to you here. I never told you this, but like and Hoppy will acknowledge this
What's
as
that?
well. Like my man could do some voiceover work, don't you think?
Oh yeah,
You got a voice.
he has a good voice.
You
good
got a
pipes.
voice.
Good pipes, as they say in the industry.
Everybody, well, number one, everybody thinks I'm really quiet.
You are.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Well-
Actually, I'm not. I mean, I just don't.
You play quiet.
I just listen. I guess is the best.
You mean during a game when the players are?
No,
you
what he's
listen to
saying
your
is
players?
like,
no,
on
no,
a
no.
day-to-day basis, what he's saying is, I'll talk for him since he's not here. On a day-to-day basis, people in the building or people around him would say, like, how's Jordan Lesley? They'll say, like, he's quiet. And you're saying you're not.
Well, I don't think I am. Like a lot of times, and I have to remind guys of this, like players and coaches in the building. It's like if I'm in the building, I'm walking down the hall. Okay, my mind is on something. Like I'm thinking about something to do with whatever we're doing that day, or the opponent that week, or spring practice, or this drill. And I really never, if I'm in that mode, my brain doesn't cut off. And so if I'm in that mode, I'm not. I'm not trying to be rude.
So you're just not saying hi to people when you walk by.
Correct. You're right. Right. And
Will you say hi?
You just say-
I will.
just say
But
no.
if
Oh, yeah,
if
he'll
my-
say
you.
if what I'm saying is if my
that sounds
mind
like
is,
you. Sometimes you just walk right by.
correct.
You do that in the hallway.
I'm thinking about something else, like coach.
Sure, right. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't mean anything by it.
No.
but
He,
it's
he might actually mean something by it, but that's neither here nor there.
most people think that I do. They're like, nah, he's not a nice person. And I'm like,
No, I never got.
You seem like a
I never
friendly
got.
guy.
I never got that vibe at all. I always got like, not an extrovert.
yeah,
That's all. Not an
yeah. I
extrovert.
mean,
So has that always been the case? Were you ever loud or poppy younger and then you chilled, or has always been you've always been more cerebral?
and as a young guy, even coach, I don't think cerebral. Was
That wasn't
something-
that
I
wasn't
don't
the
think that.
tagline?
I don't think me and cerebral were ever in the same sentence a whole lot. But yeah, I would say I think the more that you're in our profession, that your role increases and you have more responsibility. That's where I get to thinking about things a lot more all the time, and I probably quietened up over the years, but I don't think I'm necessarily a quiet
No.
person.
No.
Like I'm damn sure not trying to be not nice to people.
No, I never got, and I never got that vibe. Never got that vibe.
Well, some
at all.
people
Just
do, and
you're just more reserved.
yeah, that's a better word.
Yeah,
That's a
and
better-
yeah. I totally get that.
But let's go back to y'all said something about a good voice. Like
Yeah, you do.
Most people think that I have a really strong. Like
you. I mean, you can tell you're not from Maine,
yeah, that's true.
right, Hoppy? I mean, no one would ever say Massachusetts or Maine. Like no one would ever say that, but you're the resonance in your voice and the deepness in your voice is really good. It's like it stands out. That's good.
And he's got a good southern lilt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to his voice, kind of like Neil, although he's got a better voice.
Neil's
than
more
Neil.
Kentucky. Neil's Kentucky.
well, that's- yeah,
well,
what do you
that's
think of
true.
Neil's?
Yeah.
What do you think of Neil's accent? You it's noticeable to you?
Yeah, here's what, and I can say this, and my wife would, she's from Kentucky too.
Right. You're correct. Yeah.
Okay, and Kentucky, it's like their opinion of them is probably a little higher than everybody else's. And she'll get a kick, and Shadon will too. I give them crap all the time.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same to me. Like my wife she says, "Yeah, that Mississippi accent," and I'm like, "You're from Madisonville, Kentucky. It sounds the same." In case you haven't noticed. So, but most people thought, hey, Western Kentucky, Northeast Mississippi, like y'all's kids are going to speak essentially a language nobody knows what it is, and which they don't. They really sound like they're from Pennsylvania.
So let me ask you this: do you hear a West Virginia accent from West Virginia people?
Depends on where.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is?
It's northern West Virginia.
I tell you this: it goes like this. Like you heard of the Mason-Dixon line, obviously, right? Well, that's just right here, but it's not the Mason-Dixon line. Like, you have to go past the Mason-Dixon line. Hoppy, follow me here.
Yeah, I'm following you.
Goshen Road exit. I think Goshen Road exit is an area because by the time you get to Fairmont, so we're talking, it starts.
Okay.
Harrison County gets a little bit more, and then you go Upshur County, and by the time you're in Flatwoods, it's on, and by the time you get to Raleigh County, it's stronger. It literally graduates and gets stronger
But
and
there's
stronger.
a different one if you go north too.
Oh,
Sure.
it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It's a
right.
Upper Ohio
Yeah.
Valley,
That's
Pittsburgh.
They're more
yeah.
They're more
Correct.
Yinzers than they are West Virginia, Southern West Virginia accent. Because I find it fascinates me how that just kind of
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said it, 'cause I never knew where the line was, but I knew that there was
Goshen Road.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if that's a confirmed line, so don't.
that's-
I don't
that's
know.
not- that
you
is
don't
not
necessarily
what-
need to go
Right.
out and say that to other
Yeah.
people,
Yeah. Right.
right? He's just that's his
You're just
line.
saying Fairmont.
He's
The,
just
the
Fairmont.
thing is that West Virginia, and you're right about the Upper Ohio Valley, but West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee is Appalachian. Okay, is Appalachian, which is different than Southern.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
All right.
Yeah, and I mean, the distinct difference, the only one that's ever been really different to me, honestly, is that Georgia, South Carolina.
Oh, they got the
yeah.
oh.
Yeah, that Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, just in my ears, it all kind of sounds.
But you can tell a Georgia.
I can always tell that coastal South Georgia up through the Carolinas, just that old South. And you know what? Honestly, because I lived there for 3 years, the Texas twang that's a little different too.
Yeah.
And I don't even count Louisiana.
Ren Baker's is different. That Oklahoma,
Yes,
Texas.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes.
that
He's got a
in
different-
Texas is very similar to me.
He's got a different thing going on there. Yeah. Huh. Can you believe this will be year 6 for you guys? Fast or slow?
Fast. Well, I say fast. I think last year made it seem faster than it was. 19, 20, 21. I mean, just the amount of change in college ball and just the overall situation and everything. You're trying to not only, rebuild a culture, a locker, the whole thing, and with everything that was going on. Now that was really slow, and there's some days in there that were really long. But to look up after last year and to think about 6, and it's like, man, that flew by. So, days are long, years are short, and it's but overall, it's been a lot of fun. Like my wife and I, we this is a place that really fits us, and we've had a great time, and I think the best is coming. So.
What was your perception when the opportunity came to go here as to what it was going to be like here? So what was your perception compared to what the reality of it's like to live here?
So first of all, let me go back. So when Rich Rod, those days, was I was in college in a GA, and you're talking about Sugar Bowls, you're talking about Orange Bowls, you're talking about, it's like, whoa, and how good just watching. Because I mean, like where I'm from, so you went to the junior college game on Thursday night, you played on Friday night, and then all your Saturdays were college football. That's just what it was. It's the only thing to do. And so I was just a junkie, just watched it all the time. If we weren't playing, and the thing about those Big East days, those are all Thursday night. Everybody got to see.
Exactly.
So that was like, man, this is one of the, as a player and as a young coach, like this is one of the elite programs in college football. Well, fast forward to 2015, and we have turnover at East Mississippi Community College, and I knew the name. I'd watched the guy play, but we hired Clint Trickett as our quarterbacks coach, and so we spent a ton of time together on the recruiting trail and at practice and whatnot. And man, all he talked about West Virginia, and just some stories in there, and fast forward that Coach Brown hires me back at Troy, and I go. It was snowing. There was a game. It was snowing, and me and another coach were sitting there. This was like 2017. Maybe we had played a weeknight game, and it was a big game. It was at home, and me and a guy are sitting there, I think it was in the year before we got here. And we're watching that game, and I'm watching everything around it, and I specifically remember telling the guy, man, like, that's got to be a good job. Like, look at that place. Like, look at the people. Look at the passion. Look, like how it is, the game days, which, everybody that's, loves college football. Like, that's the pageantry and everything around it that's why you love it so much. So, and then I think it was the same year. It's like 2 months later, Neil's like, hey, there's going to be a plane there. You're going to, and I'm like, it's just kind of surreal. And so the perception coming in was, we knew in those next couple of years had a tough road, but the future and the plan Neil had, like we had been a part of it, at Troy, which was close to me as my alma mater, to kind of rebuild that thing, and so the plan was a little different, but the basis of the plan was it's a place that kind of fits us. It's the passion, blue collar, hard work, that mentality. And that is something that took a while to get back into every fabric of the program. But to see it come to fruition a little bit last year it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And then this group, they're fun to coach. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like that Pitt game in particular last year.
Oh,
you
yeah.
felt it. That felt like you were watching back those games
yes,
before,
correct.
right?
Yeah, you're correct. When and I try to stay out of like superstitious routines. I'm not a really superstitious guy. So I try, like, every time I walk out onto the field, I try to go in the tunnel one time, and then I go out the front door one time. And then I just try to take a different path. And I just happen to walk out beside where the team runs out, and I'm walking. As soon as I walk out there, that just felt different.
Yeah. Hit you in the face, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. Booze and a couple things hit you in the face, but I was like, "This is finna be wild."
How many times, though, as you said, it's been a long build, and how many times in the first year or two, or even 3, did you say to yourself or your wife or another coach, "Oh my gosh, what did we get ourselves into here?"
Well, and
because it was a long build.
Yes, and there's some hard times in there. And it's really a shout out to my wife and every coach's wife, and they're always, everybody sees everything and when it's good, and they're there when it's bad, and they hear and they see the things that and it's hard in this world now not to see it and pay attention to it. When I grew up, we didn't have Twitter. I didn't have a cell phone. I was 23 years old. And I think
you're better man for it.
Yes, I think the good Lord every day for that. But it's just hard not to see, and there were some really hard times. And Aunt Catherine's just a rock star overall dealing with it. There's some times where I got to say, hey, no, give me that.
Stop looking at that.
Stop looking at that. Give me that.
Yeah.
But there were some times in there where you're like. Because everything, you go back, everything hits in a row, and I'll never forget the day that they shut everything down in COVID. I think it was March 16th, 14th, somewhere right in there.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, we were in like spring practice number 2, and I remember thinking, coming through 19, that spring practice number 2, I said, you know what, I think we can be better. And I just kind of saw that everything, and then it just stops.
And you guys so badly needed that spring.
Oh, and it's the second. I think Neil will tell you this. Any new coach will tell you this. It's that second spring where you really start to make headway on what you're trying to do, and all that gets taken away. And then you go into really the strangest year of any. I don't know about y'all, but
that was crazy.
Everybody's life, and you're trying to. You're trying to hold a team together on Zoom, and then you get them back, and you're trying to wear, I don't know, we all look like we're robbing banks, with the whatever,
masks on.
Yeah,
the
gators
no
and all.
blueprinter experience on how to do that, right? I mean,
Nobody.
Everybody's flying blind through that stuff.
I'll never forget feeling like having that gator on and feeling like, man, like I'm gonna suffocate out here. I'm gonna suffocate coaching. So the players are thinking, and I can only imagine what they're thinking. We're trying to do like half line drills with O-line, D-line. They're, oh, you know, they sound like they're joking. So anyway, and you're trying to, and we were, you know, honestly, we come up with a plan and had alignment on it. And we were really good defensively that year. 21, we were good again, and then going in after 21, now you're dealing with transfer portal changes, the NIL landscape, and everything's changing, and so it just like nosedives in 22 for some reasons that I just mentioned. A lot of it you can't control. Some of it you could control. We were just not very good, and that was probably the toughest one. But there's been 2 seasons like that in my career. 2011 was one, and then 2022 was the other. Then I learned the absolute most as a coach. Those are the 2 seasons I learned the most.
What's the biggest couple of takeaways you took away from that?
Well, you can't grow without failure. It's impossible. I just believe that. You cannot. It's not possible to do that. Number one, don't get away from what you believe in, what you know makes a good football unit, defense, team, which are basic, fundamentals of playing defense. Pursuit to the ball, angles of tackling, shedding blocks, and making tackles. If you do that really hard, turnovers will generally take care of themselves. That was the one, and then it was, I tell people this all the time. I tell the media is that year I felt like I was in a boat. It was sinking, and there was one really big hole. All right, and if you want to get specific with it, we lose Charles Woods in the second quarter of the Pitt game.
Right,
that's our best player. All right, in the secondary, Dante Steele is our best player up front. Okay, well, when you got one here and one there, and this one goes down, everybody knows what to do to neutralize that one. Then the big hole now becomes a bunch of other holes, and you run out of fingers and toes. When you know what, if it had just plugged the big hole, it would have probably not been as bad. And so we those are the 2 biggest takeaways of learning as a coach, and and being able to take that and lean on other people and get through that. And the beginning of last year of 23, me and Neil met, decided to make some changes schematically, and I had some guys I knew what I wanted to do, and I went by myself to 3 places that I know and I trust, and I know guys will give me information, and we just it was time out of vacation, and I took it. And I went by myself, and everybody's like, you don't want the other people to go with you, not even your analysts. And I said, no. I said, because I want to go back to the teaching phase of this and I want somebody to teach me like I'm a player. And then now I can turn around and teach to the foundation of what we're doing. And it really, really helped. Helped me, helped guys, helped communication, streamlined everything, fit our personnel. Honestly, then that year our personnel's gotten better. So that's obviously the biggest piece of what you're trying to do. That's why recruiting is the way it is. There's so many other pieces in there that the things I say there's things we couldn't control, but things we could control. And so those things we could control, those were where we had to make some headway. And man, it took every one of us and got back in alignment, and the result is what it was last year. Which we were talking about Trey Lathan before. Before losing him was a hit that when we walked off the field at TCU, and I may have told you this before. We lost Trey and we lost Aubrey. We didn't know how long we were going to lose Aubrey for. But I'm walking off that field and I'm really excited. I'm like, man, we're 4-1. Like, we're playing at a high level on defense. We were in the top, 15 in the country in every category you'll keep. And I'm walking off the field, and I said, that's going to take a lot out of us. Even with the off week coming up, like that
Sure.
took a lot, because you're talking about, all right, game 1, you look up at halftime, and it's like that's really what we needed, because I think the Penn State was 14-7 or 14-10 at halftime. It's a ball game, and our guys in the locker room look totally different than they ever had, and it's like, oh, hey. And we knew it as coaches. They need to see it as players. Like, hey, we're competing here. Let's go make a couple plays. Well, it didn't go our way. But I remember saying after that game, like, this will not define what we are and who we are, like this game. We won't let it do it. And so we go and we play Duquesne and turn around Pitt. And when I knew we had a chance is when Garrett Green got hurt. And I'd never seen Neil react this way, but I'm glad he did. He walks into our huddle. He goes, look, guys. He goes, Garrett's done. Garrett's done. He goes, I don't know what our plan looked like, but just so y'all know. And, man, our guys never blinked. Defensively, they just never blinked. Like, all right, we got it. And that game in front of that crowd and kind of get it. But you're talking about a close game. Then you're talking about a last play game Texas Tech and then a last play game TCU. And it's just emotion. And maybe that's how all our games. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But the more you're in it, the more you're able to handle it. But I knew walking off the field at TCU, it took a lot out of us. And so we took this dip, and then, Ben really stepped up to the plate from about after Oklahoma State, and just, he played like a true freshman, which he does, and then we got Aubrey back during that and got back on track. But it was all coming out of a year of massive failure and growth, coaches and players alike, and me especially. So it's it was. Took a lot out of it, but it's paid off.
Yeah, and it answers your point that you got to have that bad experience in order to embrace the good experience. Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. If you're in the business world, they're ready for you. Digital phone lines, they'll come in, do a complete coaching terms. It would be a complete overview, like watching the tape, Hoppy, is what they'll do. They'll come in, take a look at your phone system, evaluate. For free, and then they'll say, hey, here's the way we can work this. Whatever way you want to do it, they can do it, whether it's purchase, whether it's lease, whether it's buy. From one line to 1,000 lines, Comax Business Systems also offering remote monitoring of your IT and your networking. For example, Jordan's got the game plan in his computer. He doesn't want anyone to come in there and steal it, Brad. I mean, that's data, right? So they offer, again, a computer colonoscopy. Well, they will come in and they will protect your data, which is so badly needed. If you're a business owner and you need to make sure your network's safe, visit Comax Business Systems. Three Guys also brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales. We talked boating. Hey, can we show some of those pictures of some of those boats? I don't think Jordan's ever seen some of those. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We got those are tri-tunes. Lou Wendell, been in business 45 years, located in St. Albans. You can't last in business and you can't last in coaching unless you're really good. That's how you last. You're successful. LouWendellMarineSales.com. That's LouWendellMarineSales.com. Selection right now at the peak of the season. Check it out, and who knows?
There's those tubes.
There's those tubes.
Did you get the tube yet?
Our boat's in. Don't have the tube yet. Boat's in the lake.
You were supposed to when we went to Charleston.
I know, we were busy trying to find you to make sure we got over there on
nice
time.
right there.
Hey, stop! I was there on time.
Guys, we have a guest. Don't fight. Lou Wendell Marine Sales. Visit them at LouWendellMarineSales.com.
Do you get nauseous just looking at the boat since you have this?
No, not at all. I can go on a river. I got no problem on a river. I can go. I can do a float fish trip down the New River. I've gone
you
small.
You can handle Cheat Lake. You'd be all right.
Oh, I don't have any issue with that. I'm talking about this, man. I'm talking about.
Yeah, it can get a little dicey at times.
Yeah, I just for whatever reason, I'm a big Dramamine guy. I lead the league in Dramamine.
Yeah, you do.
You know the trick, though.
And
you got to start the day
others.
before.
Yeah.
What's that?
On the
he
boat
leads the league in supplying others.
Oh, yeah.
We've told you that.
Oh, yeah.
He drugged me on a bowl trip. Absolutely passed out. Had to carry me through the airport.
No good.
What bowl was that? Insight.
Got the field goal block to us. We drove the ball. We got the field goal block to start the game, and the game was over.
He and I flew out separately.
Where was the Inside Bowl? Where was that?
Arizona.
At Arizona's okay. At University of Arizona.
And I just made the offhand comment. I get a little motion 6 times. He goes, "Here, take this." He gave me like 9, something like that. He carried me through the Houston airport to make our connection. Thank God.
It was all right. He got out of it. It was a couple days. He was
still
fine.
not over it.
Well, the trick to
still drowsy.
The trick to it in salt water is the day before.
Go the day before.
You got to start the day before. So you said you're a Dramamine guy. You got to start.
Build up.
Yeah, you got to go and build in. You got to have it in your system, and then it's one every 6. Because I have to take it too. Like I get
really?
seasick.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have to do it.
I thought you'd have your sea legs by now. championship.
Nope. It's
fishermen.
because I think the difference always, whether you go on a whitewater trip, right, and then you're going to hit these pools where you straighten out, or you go on a canoe trip, right, you're going to hit these areas in freshwater, or you're on Cheat Lake and you turn around, pull around behind the wind, and it's never that way. Like the water never stops moving.
Right, exactly.
Right, yeah.
And so it's but I get seasick. But the trick is you start the day before.
Build up.
Yep, and every 12 hours, and then while you're on, right before you get on the boat, and then every 6 hours after.
Yeah, I got a bunch of that stuff. Yeah, without giving us the recipe to the new defense, like I'm not going to ask you the recipe to the Coca-Cola. If a independent coach watched West Virginia in 22 and then watched them in 23, what would they say you guys changed?
Number one, the overall structure that fit our personnel. And then number two, we were better at playing football. Angles of tackling, getting off blocks, and making tackles. The biggest compliment I got all last year, we were playing the bowl game, and Chip Lindsey, who's a OC at North Carolina, is a guy that I've known for a while. He's a down south guy. He recruited Mississippi JUCOs. He was at Troy for a stint. And that's what he told me before the game. He said, Jordan, the most impressive thing I watched against any other base, y'all know how to tackle. And we weren't perfect, but that's the focal point of what you're doing and what we're teaching. When we do miss, it's a gain of 2, not a gain of 10. So guys are playing more aggressive to the ball and taking better angles, and then when they get in there, they're not slowing down. We call it shooting a shot or pull your trigger, pull the pin, whatever it is. And so, in today's world, I don't know if you're ever going to be a perfect tackling team like people were, 20, 30 years ago. It's just a different game now.
Mm-hmm.
But we spend a ton of time on it, teaching guys how to tackle safely, and to where it's not only injury prevention but penalties. And you have to cover it. Every coach gets sits there and yells and screams on the sideline, about targeting and what it is and what it's not. And hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's clearly defined, Coach. It's absolutely clear what targeting is.
Correct. Yeah.
It's always called the same way, Brad, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's and it's so. And I honestly do. Like I don't envy officials and how the rules of the game, because everything is so bang bang.
Yeah.
And so they have to go back but what for a while there, what I saw is we were using it as just overall coaching, and especially in college ball, we were using it as an excuse to not tackle at practice, or to not do this or to not do that, and kind of whine about it and say, well, everything's a penalty. We're out of that mode. We tackle every day.
Mm-hmm.
Some form or fashion every day. And there's ways to do it, and you have to teach them how to do it. And so that was the biggest improvement. The biggest thing that I think anybody would notice is just how we play defense.
So you worked on it more, and guess what? It got better.
It got better. The scheme is scheme, and I think everybody does a little version of everything at some point, and tries to be multiple to keep offenses off balance. But your scheme has to fit your personnel, and then you have to be good at until they put flags on us, which maybe they do one day, but it's still blocking and tackling. And that's we got away from that, and we went back to it, and it's paid off.
Yeah, that's super interesting. That's super interesting. Last chance you. That was wild.
You have no idea.
Tell me.
Oh, well, I mean, what I always tell people is, if you go back to the first scene of that show, there's a guy who's still a good friend of mine. Every time I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, I eat dinner with him. He's the guy that wrote it. And he came, and so the head coach, Coach Buddy, calls me in June of 2014. That was our best team. Had, I think, 3 or 4 pros on defense. Chad Kelly was the quarterback. Like, we were explosive. We were unbelievable on defense. I tell you how good we are. We played 9 regular season games, 2 playoff games, and a national title. And in the regular season, we did not give up a rushing touchdown.
Ooh.
Man.
Oof.
If the offense never gets on the bus, we go 9-2. That's a true stat. We scored, I think, 11 defensive touchdowns.
Wow.
But anyway, we were really good. So that guy shows up. Buddy calls me, and he goes, "Man, I ain't got time to mess with this guy." Like, and I'm like, so of course at that time, not married, don't have any kids. He's like, "Man, deal with this guy." So I'm like, "Oh God, this ought to be good."
So the guy's pitching him, "Hey, I want you to do this."
So the guy is from Atlanta. He is infatuated with junior college football. He had followed a guy named Josh Jarbo, who had signed with, I think, Oklahoma and ended up in Mississippi. He was a kid from Atlanta. He's a big receiver. And he was like Randy Moss talented, like just super, super talented. Just could not, like, off the field, grade-wise, couldn't get right. So anyway, this guy was infatuated with Mississippi junior college football.
Wow. And
so he reaches out. He comes over there, and he spends the entire 14 season. And I'll never forget it. All he had was, what are the little notepads that have the top ring that's like that wide,
like a reporter's notebook.
Yes.
Reporter's notebook.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what they're called. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's all he had, and he was constantly. And he'd go on like Friday night because again, you played Thursday, you recruited Friday, and then you either took your kids, your guys, your recruits to SEC ball games, or you just went to ball games to watch ball games. That was your routine.
Right.
That guy would go with me on Friday nights, and he just spent so much time with us. And he writes an article in the November issue of GQ magazine that same year called Last Chance U. And that article somehow made its way. Some guy, the director, I think, is reading the magazine in L.A., like in December that year, and he's like, "This is be unbelievable." I don't know how they did it. But next thing I know, the next June, there's like all these production trucks and these guys from Hollywood, and they're showing up, and I'm like, "Oh boys, this ought to be this ought to be good." And you know, we knew we were not gonna be as good. We were still gonna be good, but we're gonna be younger, especially on defense, because you turn over half your team every year.
Sure.
And to reload it with that kind of talent just doesn't happen all the time. So we knew we were going to take a step back, but our expectation was still to win. So, man, there's so many stories of those guys. Like, they're out there filming drills and just getting crushed, and like their cameras and stuff. They just get too close.
They got too close. They got banged.
They really – I think they come in with the thought of, hey, these are like D3 athletes or like D3 players, and you're out there running around,
They thought they could get around them.
Yeah. So they're like filming the drills, and next thing you know, the DB will turn and sprint, and they're just getting crushed. And I'm just I can't help but laugh. Like I'm just like, man, this is awesome. So, but they really missed it by a year. 2014 would have been great. And so maybe y'all know better than I do. I guess there's a law called implied consent where they can use so much of your name, your image, your likeness if you have a microphone on. So they were micing everybody up and doing different things. At the end of it, there's a waiver where essentially you can sign everything they have.
I can use it, and
You're right.
I'm giving it to you.
Correct. And so, I just did a little research, and some of the things were tied back to reality TV, and there was maybe one other person, but I think I may have been the only one that didn't sign it. So what you see of me on there is the bare minimum of what they can use, which I mean, is fine. I really didn't matter, but I knew that was, where my career was going was beyond there. And
didn't need to stop there.
No, I mean, but there wasn't anything on there that I don't think
Right.
that would have.
Right.
But I did understand at the time how reality TV worked.
And it's really not reality.
Sure, right. And so, they but there were some really cool things that were on video I wish they would have had. Like, we do it now. Like, we do a winter dinner. I used to, if we won, I would the coaches and me would cook for the defense players on Sundays. We'd take a little time out of practice. I mean, we had some really, really good, like, to be in my backyard. My backyard was fenced off. I lived there on campus. And we had some really, really good times. The Ronald Ollie story was one that is really good. And there was some more before that. Guys that, DJ Jones, who I think is with the Broncos now, ended up playing at Ole Miss, was a great story. Jaron Reed, who was first pick of the second round from Alabama, who I think is finished back with the Seahawks, is a phenomenal story, and there's tons like it.
Yeah, people love stories. See,
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
that's why people love those stories.
But I wouldn't trade that experience for anything.
Right.
Everybody's always like, last chance, in the perception that last chance you has. I mean, there are, and there and everybody, the end of that was this big brawl that cleared the benches, and there was so much more to it than that. And I wish people thought about it. Now after that, the rest of the seasons after that,
Right.
That's a little different deal.
Yeah.
That's not my cup of tea. But I wouldn't trade that. I wouldn't trade that experience for anything.
We were chatting before we started recording. Your two schools that came down to recruiting you, Troy and Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a little West Virginia flavor. That was back in the Bob Pruitt days, correct? Mm-hmm. And you went to Troy, but you played on the other side of the ball of where you work now, correct? Mm-hmm. Tight end. So how did you make that transition?
Oh, it was really easy. There's a guy named DeMarcus Ware.
He said, "I'll go over there and coach him."
No. So I come out as a defensive signee. I was a backer, probably going to play outside backer, DN at some point. But we get down there, and there's you got OCU Manure on one side, and then they bring this freshman in as DeMarcus Ware, and it's like, you got to get on the field. And I'm nowhere near even close to the type caliber player those guys. Those guys are NFL Hall of Famers.
Sure.
And so, and if I look back as a coach, and I would have advised my younger self to do the same thing. So I moved over and started 2 years at tight end on offense, played there, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And you always, your pride and your ego is a little hurt at first, and because you're a defensive player, and that's how you want to play the game. That's where your mind is, and so, but you never lose that. And so, as a coach, I just always want to coach defense. I want to go back on defense, and just always that's where my mind. That's the chess match and the pieces, and and really just how you play, the physicality, and how
Let me ask you something about coaching defense that I asked Trey Lathan, is that after you have an opponent coming up, and after a week of film study and coaching and knowing tendencies, and you're in the game, and at the point in time in the game, the score, the down and distance, the personnel, when all that is combined, do you know, and the formation, do you have a pretty good idea what they're going to run?
Yes, but can you get that information across in split second?
Can you?
Yes and no, I guess, is the easiest answer. It depends on the style of team. Like if they're a tempo team, you're strictly playing.
You're playing base, right?
You're strictly playing off of personnel, formation, tendencies, and situation.
Okay.
Like balls on the hash. So a team that's trying to snap the ball every 8 seconds, balls on that hash. Here's the rollout hash. Here's the set of plays they like, and you're just playing off of that. Now you're playing a huddle team. There's times when they can break the huddle, and you can kind of look and see, all right, the running backs he's in and tight, and you can, there's a lot of defense coordinators make their calls off of that, because you'll see them over there and they're waiting, they're seeing as much as they can, and I really can't do that.
Because it leaves too many guys confused and waiting.
Well, yeah, right. They're looking at you, and then they're like, "Oh, here we go," and then they got to see, is it 3x1, is it 2x2, and we try to build our defense to where there's minimal checks and adjustments, and you're just essentially playing off of your number, your responsibility, whatever it is. So we try to give them that, as much of that information. The things that really give you issues, because and offensive coaches are very similar. Like Coach Brown, the guys at Texas Tech or the guys at TCU, like everybody has their background, their sets of plays. It's how they dress them up and how they're, and what you're going to get a new version of that week. There's a little bit of guesswork, and you got to try to, all right, off of this formation or off of this variation, that's what you need to work during the week.
Because I thought, and we talked a lot about that during our coverage, was it looked like every week, same plays, but giving defenses a different look, formation-wise.
For West Virginia's offense.
offense,
So by the end of the year, they were showing the same formation, running 7-8 plays off the same formation, which really created issues.
Yeah, because if you break down those percentages, and I think most defensive guys are big percentage guys, and you don't see a tendency that's above 5 to 7%, and you're kind of sitting there going, all right, like I wouldn't gamble on that, you know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't put odds on, so it's like, what are they? Then you start just like, all right, so then you try to see early in the game how their base sets of plays are being presented this week, and you start to figure out. I'll give you an example, like TCU. They figured out in the middle of the field how we were setting our defense in the middle of the field. Because the ball can be spotted 5 different places.
Mm-hmm.
And the middle of the field is different, right? Because they can set their strength, and maybe it's to your weak side or your whatever you consider that. And so, very simple, we caught it and we flipped our strength call in the middle of the game, and it changed how they were, or our good pieces were, and vice versa to theirs. So that's just an example of you're not gonna, but can you? You just always go off tendency. So you have your base knowledge, but you're never gonna. Like we're on the radio, we're in helmet communication.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm never going to be able to let there and say, hey, the back is set to the left, the tight end set to the right. You're going to get a set of split zone counter, this, and then while I'm talking, set up. So you got to be, you got to be careful, but you try to present the player with as much of the who we think they are. And then you go back and you watch how they attack defenses that play our same style. And I think every one of them have tendencies. So that's the information that you study during the week, and the player has a general idea. And then every coach is different. I let them do it in their own rooms with how they quiz them and how they test them. And then on Friday nights or Saturday morning, whatever it is, it's a kind of a final reminder deal. And we hit it and go. And but I think a lot of times you go too far down what I was talking about in 22, down that rabbit hole, and still keep the focus on playing football the way we're going to be successful playing football. If we can do that on Saturday nights, we'll be fine.
Are you a fan of the new helmet communication?
Oh yeah, bowl game was great. It was awesome, game changer. Now the rules are going to be a little different this fall, but it's just you just feel so much more comfortable. And it'll be interesting, feel so much more comfortable calling plays to me. And you feel comfortable about them getting the information. You got to think now, college sidelines have turned into essentially a circus doing the Macarena is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And you got guys holding freaking
sheets.
It's a joke.
Yeah,
it's a total joke, and so
fortunately, opposing coaches would never be interested in trying to steal any signals.
Right. I've never heard of that.
Right, Brad? I mean, that would never.
No, never heard of that.
Never
I don't
happen.
think that happens.
Probably wouldn't happen.
Because of the integrity of
that probably wouldn't happen.
the game.
Well, I mean, I'm going down that road, but it's I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a huge I just think it's a huge advantage to get back to
Football.
You call a play, I call a play. Did I call the right one? I don't know, but can we?
Yeah, let's get it.
It's a chess match instead of, oh yeah, they're in cover 2. Let me give this quarterback a play.
Right.
And how are you really helping the quarterback?
Right.
I think that's why you see a big decline in NFL production early on, because they can't be told what to do.
Right. Right. They're not ready. Yeah.
Let's talk personnel for a second. You don't have to do word association, but kind of sentence association. I'm going to throw some newcomers at you. Trotter, not a newcomer, but we're seeing him for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Just difference maker, game changer.
Dude,
dude.
Garnes.
Fast. And can play like playmaker. Like go like attacks the ball. Like he just has he sees it, he goes and gets it.
Ty French.
And I'm trying to get all the explosive, fast jet terms. I'll put it this way: we had a safety miss tackle in the post in the spring scrimmage number 2, and he tackled the guy on the post.
Wow.
Now, he's
Turned and chased him down.
He's an edge defender now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we all know where the post is. So, but he's from Colquitt County, Georgia, and there's a lot of people down in that part of the world that can run.
So what's the part of his game that has to translate up to this level?
It's seeing a better, talented offensive tackle, and which is fine for him. He's got to use what he's good at, which is speed. Because I don't care who we play, there's not an offensive tackle that's gonna kick slide as fast as that dude can run. And so, I think that's a lot of times gets lost in pass rush. Guys watch, all these videos and want to do all this fancy stuff. And at the end of the day, run, turn the corner, sack the quarterback. And if he takes that mentality, he'll be fine. Because that's what he's good at. That's what he. I mean, look at his stats at Gardner Webb.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, and some of the volume probably of defense as opposed to what he was doing. Terminology wise, he's a 1-year guy, and you're changing all your terminology you've been doing for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. How quickly can you grasp that? And
Yeah.
speed? Yeah.
So but that's on us to kind of keep him in a position what he needs to be doing.
TJ Jackson.
Oh, you know what? Like, loves competition. Like we'll be. I was walking by the end. You ever been in a stadium that's where the weight room is, and that big turf area, and sometimes when we scrimmage and practice in there, the O line and D line will be down there doing their own thing, and so we're in. I think it was one-on-ones with the linebackers, DBs. So I run down to that restroom, go to the restroom, come back out. So I'm walking right by the O line and D line, and I see TJ, and he's out there kick slide, punching. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm finna block him." And so he did his D-line one-on-one pass rush, and then he flipped over on O-line. Just to try to
just wanted to do it?
Just wanted to do it. Like, if you walk up in the indoor, like in pre-practice, like but Neil has this basketball goal now. We always shoot for competition and stuff. He's in there shooting. We did the 3-on-3, the kickoff return drill. He's like 75% win percentage on that. The guy's 290 pounds. And he wants to run down on kickoff.
Yeah.
And, where he's from and his family and kind of where he come from that's competition and playing in the backyard. That's all they know. And so he just and if you look at him and you're not going to be overly impressed. But then he does something, you're like, whoa. Quick, explosive, quick twitch, powerful, competitive, tough, hard-nosed. I mean, you just go through all those things.
All right, hold on. One more. I got one more. Zay Jennings.
No. Man, I don't
See,
know.
if Zay Jennings was a horse in the Kentucky Derby, he's closing fast, right? There's a lot of talk here recently about Jennings. He's coming?
Yeah, that's I don't want to say it a whole lot.
He's a dude. He's a dude.
Well, here's Zay Jennings in a nutshell. So he's a type player. I just actually talked to a coach yesterday in Cincinnati. They're like, "How's that kid doing?" I was like, "Great." He goes, "We game planned him. We had to game plan him, and he played high safety. All right, and it was actually a connection back to West Virginia on this one. The coach was the guy that had Chris Henry Jr.
Oh, wow.
So he's like, we knew if we could make that kid think we're throwing the ball on a screen to Chris, he would come off of that roof as fat, and he's trying to destroy everything in his path. So if we could just do that and then send Chris over the top, that he would bite." And I'm like, that makes a ton of sense. And I go watch him play last year as one of the off weeks, and that's what he did. And so we just told him, like, "Look, we'll let you play safety till you prove to us you can't." Well, those mistakes at our level are touchdowns. So here's what we do: we get him in a position, playing our nickel safety or what we call spear, and he has one speed. He sees it and he hits it and he goes and gets it. And a lot of times, especially right now, like it's wrong. Like he comes up to me, and Shadon, and he was like, "Hey, coach, I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but when I see the ball, I just get it." And I says, "Hey, you keep doing that, and we'll figure the rest of this stuff out." And but he is an unbelievable kid. Man, his grandfather and grandmother, like, just salt of the earth people.
That's awesome.
And that kid he's going to be very, very successful. And in a place like West Virginia and the people around it'll change the trajectory of his life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he's a great kid, going to be a great player.
Movie question.
Uh-oh.
Shawshank Redemption.
Top one. Number one.
All time.
All time.
How many times do you think you watched it?
Well, let's see. What do we? It depends on how many TNT.
Like you'll always
Saturdays
when you're going through and it's already on, you'll always stop and watch the rest of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah. And it's like we've talked about this with music and movies. If it tells a story, I like it. If it don't, it don't. Like Aunt Catherine, totally different. She'll just get up, and walk out.
She sees it coming.
Well, she's like,
how many times do you have
how
to
many
do
times
this?
are you gonna watch it? I'm like, it's the best movie.
The first time I saw Andy DeFreeze,
Yeah.
get busy living or get busy dying.
That's right.
The greatest ending of any movie.
No question. No question.
It is a great ending.
It's the greatest ending, and you're like, it's a great story.
Music.
Stephen King.
Yeah,
Yes,
Stephen
absolutely.
King. Yeah. Music. Charles Wesley Godwin came and spoke to the team during August camp. He made a very impassioned speech to those guys, about 14.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to his stuff at all?
Yeah, I do.
His stuff's blowing up.
Yep.
Yeah, he tells stories.
Again, it's storytelling.
Right.
Who
Who do you think who's your favorite storyteller singer? Johnny Cash?
singer?
Yeah. Johnny Cash told stories.
Yeah, he did, and he's up there. The greatest to me. There's a couple of songs in there I think that tell. I think Randy Travis is one of them.
He was unbelievable. You see that song he came out with this weekend, AI version?
I saw that.
Pretty wild.
It's,
man.
just if it doesn't there's all kinds of different music, but if it doesn't tell a story, I really can't. It's hard to listen to consistently. Like you're gonna have things like during a ball game and guys jumping around and yeah, I get it, but as far as riding down the road, like listening to music,
you want a boom, doom,
Yep.
do, and now the end, boom.
yes.
Yeah. 3 guys before the game remind you to get a GoMart rewards card because here's what you get. Brand new Thirsty Club. Do you hear what I said, Brad? I said the Thirsty Club. You buy 6 20-ounce Coke products, you get the 7th one free. That's buy 6, get 1 free. One of the mighty exciting clubs waiting for you. If you're not a member, sign up online. GoMart app. Visit gomart.com for all the details and start saving today. Neil was telling me this week Chad Scott's a pretty good cook.
Oh yeah.
He has crawfish, brings them in from Louisiana, has them
Yep.
brought in, does that kind of thing.
Yep.
So what's the best thing you cook?
Honestly, I do. We've talked about this. I do steaks totally different. I don't grill steaks anymore. I'm all cast iron. I flavor the oil. I kind of do that deal. But, I come across a couple years ago, and Catherine and me were in between here in Pittsburgh. Small little Riverside cafe, and they had a white chicken chili.
Oh.
And we got to eat. I was like, this is phenomenal. So I got another bowl, and I'm like, I'm picking out through the flavors, and I told my wife, I was like, I think I can make this.
You didn't ask for the recipe.
No.
You wanted to go back.
I wanted to go back and try to figure it out.
And
that's probably the best thing I cook.
so you hit it.
Yeah.
What's in there?
Well, let me go back here. So my grandmother taught me how to cook.
Okay.
Like the basics of how to cook.
Right.
And one of my favorite dishes that she made, we call it chicken rotel, but essentially chicken spaghetti. Okay. And it's spicy chicken, but But how she did it, she would make her own chicken broth.
Oh yeah.
That's where she started it. And so
That was the beginning.
boil a whole chicken,
Real broth.
real broth.
Real broth.
Yeah, put your spices in there, put some garlic, some bay leaves, salt, pepper, maybe some rosemary and thyme if you like that. Boil it about an hour. Peel it, strain off the broth.
Yeah.
And then that's the base of your soup. Very simple vegetable combination.
The onions,
And-
onion, carrots, celery.
Yep.
Yeah.
Onion, carrot, celery. This one actually I use a jalapeno, 2 poblanos, onion,
Garlic.
garlic, ancho chili powder, cumin, coriander,
Wow.
Oh, it's cooking.
a
It's going.
little bit of paprika, and just a touch of cayenne. Oh, you can go a little bit more cayenne if you want to. And so sweat down the vegetables, roast the spices, go in with the broth, let that go for 20, go in with the chicken. And here's the other kicker to this. It's you take northern white beans. You puree half of 2 cups, and then you take 2 cups to the side, and the puree goes in, kind of thickens
It it up.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
interesting.
And there you go.
Okay.
Now we're talking.
And, and use roasted whole kernel corn and cilantro. And then if you want to do a little thickening after that, you can put cream cheese and melt it in there and let it sit.
Oh,
my.
that's
It's
good,
a-
dude.
Like rich.
You got density,
rich,
you got
just-
richness, you
yeah.
got savory.
A little bit of
you got-
spice, savory,
Oh,
and then
that's
some
America
richness.
right there. That's
good.
perfect.
I'll make you some.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll make you a loaf of bread,
Okay.
and you give me chili, and we'll do a deal.
Deal.
Great way to end it.
Maybe you could share that, Tony, instead of just
Nah, hop.
No, he doesn't share things.
Listen, he's going to give me something. I'm going to give him something. You know, Hoppy, being a taker your whole life. I mean, doesn't that get tiring? Take.
What?
I mean,
come from
coming
him.
from him.
Take.
Coming from him.
Jeez.
Jordan, we can't thank you enough for coming in.
Oh man, that's a great time.
We
really
enjoyed it.
enjoy you guys. Appreciate what y'all do, and
When's dinner?
We're looking,
Ooh,
and
good
we're
Jordan's
anxiously, obviously, we're looking forward. Let's have our summer first, but we're anxiously looking forward to seeing this 2024 Mountaineer football team, and it's going to be a lot of fun. All
No
right,
pressure. No pressure.
None at all. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. Go to Gomart as well, gomart.com for details. Visit them, get the rewards card, and Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. Sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. That'll do it. Our special guest, Summer Series, Jordan Lesley for Hoppy, the Senator, Austin Wright, our producer. We'll see you. Three Guys before the game, over and out.